Hello and welcome to the Truth About Storytelling. I'm Taryn Martinson, and this podcast is all about encouraging other authors and sharing my writing journey. By the truth about storytelling, what I mean is the behind the scenes stuff that goes into creating great storytelling, whether it's oral storytelling, audiobooks, narrated content, or books that I happen to love to write, and short stories and poetry. So if you're interested in any of that, please feel welcome to hang out. I am an author who has published poetry, short stories, novels. I've published some of those things myself. I've had some of them published by more traditional presses and some small presses. So if you're interested in any of those things and in industry related stuff, come hang out. I have to admit, I started this podcast last year to mainly talk about my writing journey, but this year I'm bringing in a few pieces about the publishing industry, and I'm just beginning that. So if you truly want publishing industry news, I recommend checking out the self-publishing podcast that's put on by ALLY, which is the Alliance of Independent Authors, or going to check out the Authors Guild in the United States or other places like that that are going to have some very professional author news about the industry. However, I'm going to try to get a little piece of that every week, and we'll see how it goes this year. It's kind of one of my new pieces that I'm doing for this podcast. Another new thing, as of today, for the very first time, I am attempting to record both audio, like in Audacity, and video with a new camera that I got because my laptop computer, actually the camera died on it. I don't know why. It's the one thing that doesn't work on my laptop computer. So I had to get a new one, and I'm trying it all out today. So we'll see how it goes. This may end up being purely audio again. I don't know. So in publishing industry news, that little new piece that I want to do, Author Nation has announced their keynote speaker, and it's going to be James Patterson, who is a widely known author worldwide. People love his books, and he makes millions from his writing, and he's brilliant in his strategy as a businessman. And so I have a great deal of admiration for what he does. And I think it's really cool that he's going to be the keynote speaker at Author Nation. I think he has a lot to say about the writing craft and the writing business. And so Author Nation is truly a place where authors go to learn what it means to be author entrepreneurs or authorpreneurs, and how to not only enjoy the craft of writing, but to make a living from writing, or at least that's the hope for many authors who attend Author Nation. I know that I love to write, and I'm going to write no matter what, but I would like to become financially more successful. I've had a few more financially successful years and a few not so financially successful years, so I'm currently trying to figure out how to get back to that financial success aspect with my writing and become more of an author entrepreneur and see my writing as a small business. So if you're interested in that kind of thing with your writing, I highly recommend checking out Author Nation, either online, because you can go to it online, or you could go to it in person in Las Vegas. It's in November, so it's a ways out. You have some time to plan. The one nice thing about Vegas, it is a fairly inexpensive and accessible place to fly to via airlines, and the hotels are decently priced. And then the conference at this point, if you get your ticket like right now, it's a fairly decent price. I think as you get closer to the conference, it's going to get more and more expensive, and we're going to see ticket sales just kind of fly by. So I don't know how busy it'll be this fall, but I know it could be a pretty packed, pretty packed event, and I think it's definitely worthwhile going to if you're interested in both working on your writing craft and the business side of writing. And so anyway, I'm going to it this year. I'm excited to go to it this year. I'm excited to learn things this fall. And before I do that, I am, of course, continuing to write and work on the business side of things as much as I can. I'm taking classes, kind of not really taking classes as far as paying out more, but because I went to Author Nation last year, I can continue to take or watch video of their classes from last year. Sorry, I'm not used to doing this with video and audio, so I have to admit there's this like distraction. I see the video of myself in the corner of my eye, and I'm like, oh, whoa, that's, I don't know if I like that. So we'll see how well this goes, and see how well I can keep doing this. We'll find out. Anyhow, so again, Author Nation, they've named their keynote speaker. It's James Patterson. I know a lot of people feel like he's one of those authors, like pretty well every author that becomes super famous. There's controversy about him because some people think that because he employs ghostwriters and he works with co-writers, that's not, fair of him. But I actually think it's just a really smart business decision on his part. He has a lot of ideas. He's working with people. He's training up authors who then go out and become authors under their own names and in their own right. And he's doing really well as an author. So I think there's a lot to be said for how he's doing his business. And I know from reading his books, one of the things that I've learned is that I need to be better at leaving cliffhangers at the end of most of my chapters. And that's really difficult for me. I want to wrap up the end of a chapter, but I know that the best way to get readers to keep turning the pages is to end the chapter on a cliffhanger. That means you have to turn the page to the next chapter. And readers really like short chapters. It's amazing how that works. I've seen video content about by readers who say they like short chapters because it makes them feel more accomplished and they enjoy the book more. So because of those videos, and then also because of what I've seen James Patterson do really successfully, I have been trying to write shorter chapters, again, with cliffhangers, so you have to turn the page to the next chapter. So anyway, I think it's interesting. I think we can learn things from each other. And not every writing style is going to fit everyone, but I think it's good to kind of pay attention to what's going on in the industry too. So last week I mentioned the U.S. copyright law about AI that's kind of been further refined, and I've listened since then to two different authors talk about it, and they had very different takes on it. So I highly recommend reading that 52-page document, or at least skimming it and paying attention to page 8. I will put the link on the show notes again for that because I think it's really fascinating to read about. And also, I have to say, I don't know if I could put a link on the show notes for that in YouTube. I'm not sure if YouTube allows that, so I'll do that for my audio podcast. So if you see my podcast on Spotify or RSS feeds or someplace like that, you'll be able to find a link to the U.S. copyright law there and a link to Author Nation. So in addition to those links, you'll also find a link for the No Spice Fantasy in February book funnel, which I joined just yesterday. It is going through the end of February, and there are over 40 books on sale for that book funnel. Now, it's different than other book funnels I've been a part of. Other book funnels have been newsletter-based, so they give away free books in the hopes that you join their newsletter. This is a sale-based book funnel, so you'll find books for monetary value there. You have to pay for them. So I still think it's a great book funnel to be a part of, and I hope that you'll click that link and check it out. I think there's some great books in there. So in personal writing news, as I mentioned, I'm working with a new camera setup, and in addition to trying to work with Audacity, so I'm trying to do all these different things at the same time. I've got stuff going on the screen behind the camera and next to me, and I'm like, oh, it's distracting, so I'm not sure how well it's going to work, but I'm trying it out. And so in addition to that, some other things I'm doing new are I'm going through my website and making some changes to it. Not all of the buttons on the front page work yet, but I hope they will by next week. And then I'll also be filling in the back pages on my website to be more reader friendly, because I realized recently when I looked at my website, wow, it's just got like all these busy buttons on there and it's not very engagement or reader friendly. So I'm doing my best to change up my website so it's more reader friendly, and hopefully if you go there, again, not this week, but hopefully in a week or two, you will find anything you want or need on there, and hopefully it's fun to go to and not just I don't know, not just boring, I guess. So, in addition to that, I am working on revisions for a novella that's actually for a pen name that I have, and I will be finishing up that, I hope, this week. I've been poking at my Darkblade Tempered revisions. I am kind of basically generating ideas about that in a separate session every day about what I'm going to do to make that book be really good. I intend to have that finished and hopefully out this spring. So look forward to that. If you like Darkblade Forged, you'll be able to hopefully get Darkblade Tempered this spring as soon as I get through, again, got to get through the novella revision and then really dive deeper into the Darkblade Tempered revision. So when I'm struggling to keep the forward momentum on revision, or I just feel like kind of mind boggled by it, I will work on other things. So that's kind of how I started finally working on my website and revising it. But I also, this week, I started looking at my poetry, and I have a lot of poetry that I've put out there in the world that's been published. Some of it's in a collection from like almost a decade ago, but I have a whole bunch of new poetry that I haven't put out in a collection yet. And when I do book events, I've noticed that other authors sometimes have small items for sale, smaller than their books for sale. And so I thought about what I could do that way, and I decided to do some poetry prints. And basically what these are partial poems or full poems that either are going to go onto like a postcard size print, or maybe an 8x11 print that I have a little bit of design to, not a lot. It'll be fairly simple design with the poem being the main part of the print. And I'm hoping to be able to do that and have those for sale at my next in-person event in June. So it's a little ways out, but I know it takes me a while to figure out all the logistics of things like that. So in addition to that, I've been thinking, do I only do poetry prints, or do I put together a poetry collection? And if I put together a poetry collection, do I try out Kickstarter? Because I did some research on Kickstarter last year, and I really do want to try it. And so that's one of those other things. And yes, if I sound busy, it's because I am. I like being busy. I like working toward my goals and doing that with as much forward momentum as I can, but that doesn't necessarily mean just one little narrow linear spot of work. I usually have like a handful of things I'm kind of working at all at once. And so that's kind of just how my brain works. It's how I like to work. If I try to just do one story or one project full time, I end up getting really frustrated and actually kind of lost in the weeds of the project. And so it's better for me to kind of spread out my attention and move from one thing to another. But that's just the way my brain works. Not everybody's does. As I've said before in this podcast, and I will say it again, get to know your own strengths as an author and find out what works for you best as far as your writing life and how you like to tackle big projects. So I think it's just really important to know our own strengths. And I know that I am the kind of person who needs to work from project to project to project that all are kind of under one big umbrella project moving forward. So my big umbrella project is to develop worlds and words that are meaningful and entertaining for readers and for myself. And so that's all the things I'm doing are kind of working that way. Plus, creative visibility is one of my big umbrella goals, and that's, again, a lot of things I'm doing with my website, the poetry prints, and things like that. So, again, all that goes towards that. And then I'm also working on being a healthy writer. So, what that means for right this moment is I'm using my stand-up desk and standing up while I do my podcast. And so I'm hoping that's working out. So, anyway, I have big umbrella goals, and then I have little sub-goals underneath them that I just kind of keep putting energy towards and working on. So again, I'm not just a narrow focused goal achiever. I need kind of a multi-platform type way of doing things. So anyhow, all of that is to be said that I'm trying things new today, and I'm excited to do that. My topic that I meant to talk about today, that I actually talked a little bit about on like a 5-minute video that I put out on YouTube and Rumble, is that sometimes when we fall down, we just need to get up again. And I kind of fell down a little bit last week, although there were some health concerns going on in my extended family and things like that too. So sometimes there's just a big reason that we have to go through and determine what's important to us, and we know that we can't do everything, even though I just talked about, doing all these multiple sub goals to go after a big goal. Sometimes we can't do all the things. Sometimes we need to pause and then start again. So it's not just about falling down and getting back up again. Sometimes I think that principle is applied too much to like really big like failure type things, when it actually can be applied to any moment where we need to take a break and then go back to work, and take a break and go back to work. And sometimes we have to take breaks. Sometimes we take a break, we think we're going to take a long one, and we realize, oh, now I've got energy, I can go back to work again, and I'm excited about it. So there's that fall down, get up, take a break, get back to work, get refueled and renewed with rest, and then be re-energized. There's just that cycle that we go through, I think, with all the work that we do and with life. Sometimes we need rest, and sometimes we are ready and excited about the purpose of the work we are doing. So I hope that is true for you today. I hope that if you need to rest, you're resting, but I also hope for you that if you've had a rest, that you feel renewed and excited about the purpose behind your writing and your creativity. So thank you for joining me today. I have a couple more topics that I want to talk about this month, about keeping going when things are hard, getting back up again after you've taken a rest, or taking the time to rest so you can be re-energized, and pivoting. So those are some topic areas I'm going to touch on in the next couple of episodes. And I will also be reading again some short stories. So that's all coming up this week, and I hope you'll stick around as I figure out how to do all these different things, the audio and the video. Again, I gotta say, I'm not sure if it's going to work or not, because I love the idea of having audio and video at the same time, but I'm finding the setup that I have to be very distraction. I'm seeing the little audio line go by, and then I've seen the video of myself, and I'm like, whoa, like it's just a lot. So I will, I'll see how it goes. And I hope you're willing to just kind of go on the journey with me as I'm discovering how it works and if it works. So again, thanks for joining me. I'm Tyreen, and this is The Truth About